This is Scott Kaplan and Crew Tonight. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio. SoCal Sports Talk. Here's Scott Kaplan, Alex Padilla, and John Browner.
All right, great friends. It is a Wednesday afternoon here on Kaplan and Crew. We come to you from the 7 Mile Casino Studios, 7milecasino.com, along with Grande and the Brown Man. We're on the radio airwaves of ESPN 1090, blasting throughout Southern California. Tonight, you'll catch up to us on television on Channel 4 San Diego. So happy to have everybody along that'll be watching on television tonight. Also, you can find us on any of the audio podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and all the way down the line to iHeart. And then, you can catch up to us on YouTube, because YouTube is the heart and soul of what we do around here. YouTubers, make sure you put in a like, make sure you subscribe, get involved in the YouTube chat, come down below and visit our sponsors. So make sure you're kind of getting involved in everything we got going on around here. Okay, fellas, coming up a little bit later on in today's show, I'm really excited to have this person on the show. We've never had him on the radio before. He was one of the most influential people in my career as a broadcaster, and his career is coming to an end. It actually did come to an end on Monday night during the NCAA championship. Browner, have you ever heard of the name Bob Fishman?
I have, simply because I watched him cry on television when they ran a special for him at the end of the NCAA championship game.
Yep. So Bob Fishman was the director of the NCAA basketball tournament for CBS for the last 40 years. And his very first broadcast, or let me rephrase that, his very first year of directing the Final Four, that was Michael Jordan and his North Carolina team. And his last year as a director, you had Krzyzewski going into retirement, and you had North Carolina now making it to the championship game. And so Bob Fishman, at least in the world of sports television, is considered one of the true legends of the game. But when I was a kid, I'm talking like a really young kid, I'm thinking like 1998, 99. Bob Fishman was working for CBS. I was working for CBSSports.com in South Florida. He lived in Florida. And we hit it off. I don't even remember how we really got acquainted, but I can remember being at his golf tournament. And I don't even remember what the golf tournament was for. I don't know if it was a cancer research event, something like that. Bob Fishman had Sandy Koufax at his golf tournament. And Sandy Koufax came and sat down and did a radio interview with me. And for me, that was like one of the first like superstar, big time, starstruck kind of interviews that I'd ever really done. And I'll tell the story when Bob gets here, but he told me something one time that has, I promise you, this is 1998, 1999. It's 2022. It's 23, 24 years later. I'm reminded of what he told me almost every day in the broadcast industry, literally almost every day. So Bob Fishman on national television on Monday night, they had a moment where they said, hey, tonight is the last broadcast for our legendary director. This is the guy that makes Jim Nantz look so good. This is the guy that shows you the pictures during the games that makes you just love these games. This is a guy who's sitting there operating 35 cameras at the exact same time, trying to make the best presentation for you and me, the people who are sitting at home watching. I haven't seen Bob in a while. He'll come out here to San Diego. He'll come to Del Mar. He'll go up to LA to Santa Anita. I know he loves the horse racing industry. I haven't seen him in a while, but I reached out to him this week and said, I'd really love to have you on the show if you don't mind. And he said, I'd love to do it. And so Bob Fishman will be here coming up in the next segment. Guys, I'm telling you right now, you're talking today to someone who in his industry has been considered the very, very best of the best for the last 40 years. Incredible. So Bob Fishman will join us coming up shortly. Grande, did you know Bob's story at all?
Like Browner, I didn't until Monday, but I think that's kind of what's cool about him, isn't it? Like, he was just the directors. You never know who they are. You never know who's directing the things that you watch every single week. And I think that's what's cool about him. So I have some questions. It's gonna be cool to get to know him, because without him, those things don't look like the way they look. And he did it for so long. Like, I want to know how you go from like VHS tapes and reels to everything digitalized and you're still in the game. Like, he had to adapt so much.
Yeah.
I think that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like he's had to adapt through everything.
I thought one thing that's interesting, and I want to ask him about this, is his first Final Four, which was that Michael Jordan North Carolina team. I couldn't even tell you who they were playing. Do you remember, Browner? Who did North Carolina play that year?
Georgetown.
Okay. In that NCAA Final Four, CBS had 6 cameras. In the Final Four that they just did this past Monday night, I think they said they had 36 cameras. So think about that. You're a director back in the 80s, and it's a 6-camera deal. Now it's 40 years later, and there's just cameras everywhere to capture everything. Like, for example, the guy throwing up on the floor on Monday night, or the guy stepping out of bounds when Kansas inbounded the ball late in the game, giving North Carolina a chance for a last-second 3 to tie the game. All of those little things that we as viewers on television see and we take for granted, there's got to be a human being behind all of this getting it all done for us, because there's an art to it. And Bob Fishman was the artist, and he'll be with us coming up.
We went from having 6 cameras on a broadcast to now, if anything happens in the arena or in the field or in the stadium, if we don't have a shot of it, we're like, what the hell?
Yeah, right.
Like, literally, there has to be a camera everywhere.
Yeah.
Now. We need to see everything.
Right. So Bob Fishman will be with us coming up at, he'll be coming here in about, 15 minutes or so. So if you're watching on YouTube, stay with us. If you're listening on radio, this is something you're not going to hear anywhere else. I promise you that right now. And while you may not have known the name Bob Fishman, I'm just telling you that this guy has been a part of your sports television viewing life, and you probably didn't even know it. So Bob Fishman will be here.
Let's see. He's done so much stuff. I was like looking at his like official bio. He's done NCAA Final Fours, Daytona 500, U.S. Open, NFL football, NFL Today, World Series, U.S. Open tennis, Winter Olympics, opening ceremonies, NASCAR, F1, and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding, that competition between them before Nancy Kerrigan got hurt, or maybe it was after, he was there for that. He directed all of that. You mentioned the NFL Today. He could tell us more, but I think that was the early days of CBS having the NFL. It might have been like the early days, like Brent Musburger, you are looking live, or it could have been after the fact when CBS reclaimed the NFL. And maybe it was that I'm trying to think of who was on the first CBS NFL Today when they got the NFL back, because they got James Brown from Fox. So I don't remember. I think it may have been Jim Nantz was the studio host before he was the play-by-play guy. We'll have to ask Bob. He'll know all of this history. So again, I'm telling you right now, sports TV broadcast royalty will join us coming up in the next segment. And for those of you that don't know the name, I'm giving you enough time to Google it, to look it up, to understand who's coming on the show. And at 73 years old, retiring after 39 straight years of NCAA Final Fours. Truly amazing. Looking forward to this, Brown?
I only got one question.
Mm-hmm.
Why you ain't go to 40?
It's an interesting question. Well, here's why. I mean, and I don't have the answer for Bob, but here's why it's an interesting question to me. There was an article published today in the New York Post. And you guys know how we've been talking in the last few weeks about all the different movement around the NFL, right? There's been quarterback. I mean, Deshaun Watson going to Cleveland was kind of a climax to the offseason. But Devontae Adams leaving Green Bay and going to the Raiders, or Tyreek Hill leaving the Chiefs and going to the Dolphins, and
Russell Wilson, the third best quarterback in the AFC West.
There you go. So I think with all the craziness that has happened in the NFL offseason, what has even contributed more to that is all the broadcaster movement. So Troy Aikman and Joe Buck leave Fox to go to ESPN. Fox promotes Kevin Burkhardt to the number one play-by-play guy on NFL.
They announced his analyst?
They haven't yet. But it seems like all things seem to be pointing towards, what's the guy's name? He was Greg Olson, the former tight end. Even Fox announced this week the replacement for Joe Buck for the World Series. And I can't think of the guy's name, but he's the same guy that does the Spectrum Sportsnet Dodger games. Young guy. Maybe, is it Joe Davis? Is that his name?
Yeah, that sounds right.
39, I think 39-year-old guy, something like that, mid-30s. And he's already the Dodger play-by-play guy on baseball. And now he's becoming the Fox World Series guy, taking over for Joe Buck. Joe Davis. Yep. You had Al Michaels, an all-time legend, leave NBC to make room for Mike Tirico and then go over to Amazon. And his analyst, rather than being Troy Aikman, is Kirk Herbstreit. So unless I'm missing one along the way, besides all the crazy movement in the NFL with the players, there's also been a ridiculous amount of movement with the broadcasters. And with the broadcasters moving around, the money has been off the charts. I mean, Joe Buck is getting like $15 million a year from ESPN. Troy Aikman's getting $18 million a year from ESPN to call football games, all because Tony Romo got $17 million a year from CBS. Now, guys, you want to hear something really crazy today? Unless you guys know the answer, which, Alex, you may, Browner, I don't know if you opened this article and read it or not.
Got to watch out for you when you send me stuff. You're like the spam guy.
Yeah.
Whenever you send me something, I'm like, I'm not opening that.
Yeah. I knew that last week when I sent you an article with a headline and you replied to me about the headline, and I knew that you didn't open it because when you clicked on the article I sent, it was that black dude with the giant, thing.
I knew it. That's why I knew it.
Right. So I don't remember what the headline was, but the headline was like, Tiger Woods will return to the Masters. And instead of clicking on it where you see what's the giant black dude's name with the giant wood, and he's sitting on the edge of the bed and it's all hanging down. Like, I love that joke, where you click on it, you're like, oh my God, no way, Tiger Woods. And then you click on it and you're like, oh man. And I knew that you didn't open it because you just replied to the headline.
Breaking. LAPD arrests Will Smith despite Chris Rock declining to press charges. That's
and then Browner replied to the headline. He didn't click on it. And if he would have clicked on it, is that giant dude with his thing.
I knew it.
Yeah. Browner text. Good.
They arrested him. Good. Like, okay, he didn't open it.
Good.
All right. So here's the story though. Back to this whole Bob Fishman's coming up and Joe Buck's making 15 and Aikman's making 18 and Al Michaels is making a fortune and Kirk Herbstreit's making a fortune. Broadcasters have never made more money than this generation of broadcasters. The broadcasters are now making money comparable to the players. But this is
the top ones.
But this, what I'm about to tell you guys right now, this might blow your mind. Browner, did you open the article I sent you earlier?
Yes.
So you read it
somewhere else.
Okay.
I didn't click the link you sent. I looked it up somewhere else.
This would have been a great setup if this whole time, like, we just want Browner to open the link on air and it's that black dude again.
All right, this is an unbelievable story. Listen to this. So ESPN, they got Buck and Aikman, and it's like $30 some odd million for those two guys combined a year. So they just recently went through a contract negotiation with their two big insider guys, Adam Schefter with the NFL and Adrian Woj. They're NBA insider.
Yes.
So before you read this article that I sent you guys earlier today, what would you take a guess? Just a guess. What does Adam Schefter make as an NFL insider at ESPN?
I was guessing because of the television presence, about $1 million. Maybe.
Yeah, I literally thought like 2 to 3 because he's on TV all the time.
And that's why I gave him the edge. That's why I gave him that much money because he's on television. So being on television
and Woj
at that network.
Woj, I thought like $1 million because he's not really on TV all that much. He is, but he isn't. And
he's more of a presence on Twitter than he is on television.
Yeah. Think about this though.
And he got in trouble.
Yeah, well, he said something that was off color.
Right. He told someone to F off in an email.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, big whoop.
But here's the thing. If I ask you this question, how much does Woj make? Right. And how much does Schefter make? If your answer is, I don't even know where to start to even guess. I'll give you a benchmark just to give you an idea. It has been reported that Stephen A. Smith makes between $8 million and $12 million a year. So let's just cut it.
That though.
Yeah, he earns it.
Let's just say 10.
Let's just call it 10. If I told you that Stephen A. Smith makes $10 million a year at ESPN, he's on First Take every morning. He's on all the NBA pregame shows, all the big ones. He does boxing coverage. I mean, the dude is just everywhere. If I told you that Stephen A. Smith makes $10 million a year, then what do you tell me Adam Schefter makes?
800,000.
Okay. How about Woj?
700,000.
This is.
I would say as far
because the NFL is more prevalent and it's more year round.
Mm-hmm.
I know the number, but I'm trying to just based off your question. Yeah. If you frame it like that to me,
that's how I'm at. Yeah.
I think that ESPN gets more value out of Schefter and Wojnarowski than they do out of Stephen A.
Really? Why?
Now, what I mean by that is when something breaks in the NBA, it's Woj. It's the other guy too, Shams. But when something breaks in the NFL, it's Schefter. There's other guys too. That to me then drives traffic back to ESPN. The fact that they're always first, the fact that they're always putting stuff out, drives a ton of traffic back to ESPN. During the NFL season, and look at what he did during this week during Deshaun Watson. Like, how much traffic did Schefter drive to ESPN? To me, that is more valuable than Stephen A. going viral once every 3 weeks, once every 2 weeks.
Well, that's your opinion, but bottom line is Stephen A. Smith.
I don't think he will get paid as much, but to me, the value of that probably gives them a good amount of money.
But Stephen A. Smith is your number one guy. He is this generation's Chris Berman to ESPN, meaning he's the number one face guy of ESPN. Can we agree on that?
Cosell.
Okay, great. So if I told you Stephen A. Smith is making $10 million a year, then how much is Woj making?
$600,000.
Okay, and how much is Schefter making?
I would still stick with the 2 or 3 million for each of them.
Okay.
I'm going to say 700.
Dude, these are guys that were newspaper writers. When they were newspaper writers, they were making 25, 50,
so
75. I know. Absolutely. I'm putting all of them in this category.
So was
John Clayton. Yeah. I mean, all these guys were newspaper writers. And as newspaper writers, they were making nothing. They were making pennies. They became columnists. And when you became a columnist, wow, now we're making the big bucks. I'm making 80,000, 100,000, 150,000. I'm making the big money. Now Stephen A. Smith is making $10 million. This is reported today in the New York Post. Adam Schefter and Adrian Wojnarowski both re-upped their deals with ESPN. And Alex, you could put it up on the screen, the details as it is written in the Andrew Marchand column in the New York Post.
Andrew needs to get paid by ESPN.
Really? The way he's reporting on everything they do.
All the media stuff.
These two guys, if you can just pull it up. By the way, is that a Ride One Up spot right there? Look at that. Yeah, I mean, hey, the artificial intelligence is listening, and they're saying, hey, Alex is talking about Ride One Up. RideOneUp.co/great friends. When you go to that website and you buy a Ride One Up e-bike, you put in Great Friends, you'll save an additional $75. They'll send you the bike. You'll put it together. And if you can't put it together, they'll send a mechanic your way. You are out e-biking like Browner all over town. These bikes are lighter. They're incredibly well constructed. The batteries last forever. The braking system is amazing. You can use it for transportation. You could use it for fun. You could use it for exercise. There's a million reasons to have an e-bike, especially right now. And here Alex is pulling up on the screen the 700 series at $1,695. That bike right there, if it were a Trek or if it were an Elux or another brand, you're looking at over $3,000 for that same bike. So $1,695, put in Great Friends, you'll save another $75. You'll get it down to $1,625, and it'll be delivered directly to your house in a box. So anyway, back to this story, though. If you put that back up on the screen.
Yep. In there. Impromptu little action there.
Woj and Schefter. You ready for this? Schefter is now making $10 million a year. Can you read that, Alex?
Schefter will make $9 million per year, while Woj will earn in the $7 million range.
I'm gonna let you finish this.
Can you imagine? Like, Stephen A. Smith is the face of ESPN. He's literally on TV every single day, and Schefter is going to make $9 million, and Woj is going to make $7 million. Listen, more power to him. Amen. God bless them. Good for them. But my God, the money that ESPN is. What do you mean? What's false?
This is false. This report is false.
How do you know?
Because why would ESPN do that? Like that number for those two dudes, right? That number doesn't make any sense.
Can I just tell you? Just want you to know something. This guy Andrew Marchand has reported on and broken every single one of these stories.
Not saying that he hasn't.
Is the Joe Buck number wrong?
Not saying that he hasn't.
Is the Troy Aikman number wrong?
No, I'm not saying that it's not.
Then how do you know that Woj and Schefter, that the report is false? How do you know that?
Because if you're going to give Adam Schefter $9 million a year to do what he does, and then you're going to give Stephen A., we're again calling it 10. If I'm Stephen A., now I want 30. Because this guy ain't putting no work like me. Y'all finna give him $9 million for what? And y'all just laid off how many people? Y'all just laid off how many people? And you giving this man $9 million and giving this other man $7 million? And y'all just laid off how many people to pay these two bozos? Listen, ESPN created these folks.
5 seconds.
Y'all, they lucky I ran out of time.
All right, hold on. We'll talk more about
I will finna cook both of them.
All right, stick around, everybody. We're in the 7 Mile Casino studios. Bob Fishman, the legendary sports director, will join us coming up. This is Kaplan and Crew.
We'll be right back with more of Scott Kaplan and Crew tonight. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio. SoCal Sports Talk.
You're watching Kaplan and Crew tonight, powered by the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio and Your View, featuring the best sports talk in SoCal.
Dominating the SoCal radio airwaves for over 20 years. Join Scott Kaplan, Alex Padilla, and John Browner for Kaplan and Crew every Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. only on the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk, and the mightier1090.com.
Rugby. It's America's fastest growing sport and the predecessor of American football, combining football's physicality, the free-flowing grace of soccer, the ball-handling skills of basketball, and the intensity of ice hockey. No pads, no helmets, all action. Rugby Wrap-Up and Major League Rugby every Thursday night at 9 p.m. on Your View.
Hanging out at the beach? What a lifestyle. And you could be here every day if you entered the San Diego Giving Back Raffle, a benefit for Ronald McDonald House Charities of San Diego.
Grand prize is this multi-million-dollar home 1 block from the ocean. Or you can win a sports car, a dream vacation, or cash. Everyone is guaranteed to win a fabulous prize. The Giving Back Raffle helps families in need, like the Uggan family.
Visit sdraffle.com to learn more.
Main streets are the heart of our communities, where we connect with our neighbors, support local businesses, and share new adventures. Main Street Living celebrates all of this, bringing you uplifting stories with guests from across the country and your community. Main Street Living covers what's important to you today, from our street to your street. Join Cheryl, Danielle, and Quincy for Main Street Living, Mondays at 9 on Your View.
So I became a dentist because I just love science and I love art. I have a music background, so I wanted to do something that I can use the hand dexterity that I've developed, through my musical training. We've had a practice in San Diego for 25 years. It's called the Super Dentist. For over 2 decades, I've had parents ask me the same questions on a daily basis. And so I decided to put all of this information in one place. I wrote a book. Title of it is If Your Mouth Could Talk. Because if your mouth could talk, it would tell you about the condition of your entire life. Right now, the oral care marketplace is a mess. And so we decided to launch a new company called Supermouth, which is a subscription model of oral care. And so we want to be proactively educating parents, providing the tools and the oral care products to make sure they can raise healthier, happier, more successful kids. The education piece is a key piece in our company, because if you're educated as a parent, you're going to do the right things. People can find my book, If Your Mouth Could Talk, themouthbook.com, and purchase the book there, and also get some special gifts to go along with the book.
You always want to live in the best home possible. And that's what really at the heart of what our business is all about. And for over 20 years now, we've been focused on helping people get to the right property. At Move Up San Diego, we have created systems that are duplicatable because that creates the same results. Whether it's a trade-in option that we're doing a lot of right now, which allows people to be a cash buyer before they actually sell their home, or our moving concierge program, which actually helps you not just with the buying and selling of a property, but we help with the entire move. The best way to get a hold of Move Up San Diego is to either visit our website, moveupsandiego.com, or you can download our app called Move Up Homes, or you can call me direct on my cell phone at 858-204-7259.
Listen to the Mike Greenberg Show, 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. Greeny brings his unmatched depth of sports knowledge, fun, and entertainment back to ESPN on a daily basis. The Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk, and the Mightier1090.com.
Rugby. It's America's fastest growing sport and the predecessor of American football, combining football's physicality, the free-flowing grace of soccer, the ball-handling skills of basketball, and the intensity of ice hockey. No pads, no helmets, all action. Rugby Wrap-Up and Major League Rugby every Thursday night at 9 p.m. on Your View.
The 2022 San Diego Loyal season is here. Live on YourView and YourView.com. Watch the San Diego Loyal take on the Oakland Roots SC Wednesday, April 13th at 7 p.m. Support the San Diego Loyal as they make their bid for the 2022 USL Championship. Oakland Roots SC versus the San Diego Loyal, Wednesday at 7 on YourView.
Can San Diego State pull off a regular season three-peat?
We want to go to a Final Four, and that's not coach speak.
It's more than just playing that game. It's connecting with the communities.
This would be one of the biggest conference shakeups in college football history. Could the NOS send 3 teams to the postseason?
Take it week by week, but get to the playoffs.
Coming up on this episode, we'll talk with Aztecs assistant coach Dave Velasquez. We'll talk with the head coach of the Anteaters, Russ Turner. We'll catch up next week right here on Left Coast Sports with John Schaefer.
Here's Kaplan and Crew tonight's 60-second timeout with Haley Stasiak.
University of San Diego baseball beat UC San Diego on Tuesday night, completing the season sweep of UCSD. USD bats were hot in the 13-4 win. Caleb Ricketts got the scoring started in the first with an RBI single. In the second, the Toreros put up 6 runs, and that would be more than enough. Ricketts went 4 for 5 on the night with 4 RBI, a double, a home run, and a run scored. Kevin Sim also had a solid performance at the plate, going 3 for 5 with a double, home run, 2 walks, 3 RBI, and a career-high 5 runs scored. The Toreros couldn't get the series win against San Francisco last weekend. After taking the opening game of the series, they lost on both Saturday and Sunday. USD will next take on Portland this weekend as conference play continues. That's your 60-second timeout. Now back to more Kaplan and Crew tonight.
Kaplan and Crew tonight's 60-second timeout is presented by YourView.
I'm tax attorney Adam Brewer. If you have a serious tax problem with the IRS or state of California, then you don't need a tax relief company, you need a tax attorney. Call or visit my website to schedule your free tax evaluation.
Replacing missing teeth with the new small diameter or mini implants. With us, we have an expert on the topic, Dr. Joe Gillespie. Dr. Gillespie.
Hey, Randy.
Welcome to the program.
Great to see you again.
I'm tax attorney Adam Brewer. If you have a serious tax problem with the IRS or state of California, then you don't need a tax relief company, you need a tax attorney. Call or visit my website to schedule your free tax evaluation.
Welcome back. This is Scott Kaplan and Crew tonight. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the Mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk. Here's Scott Kaplan, John Browner, and Alex Padilla.
All right, great friends. It is a Wednesday afternoon here on Kaplan and Crew. We come to you from the 7 Mile Casino Studios, 7milecasino.com. Blackjack and poker on one side, Sammy's Restaurant and Bar on the other side, just 7 minutes south of downtown San Diego, 7 Mile Casino and 7milecasino.com. All right, so I mentioned in the last segment that Bob Fishman was going to join us. Now, we've had Jim Nantz on the show a million times. Lance Barrow has come by, every year during the Farmers Insurance Open. We meet all these folks from CBS who put on these great broadcasts, but we've never had Bob Fishman on the show. And for 20 plus years, one thing he told me in my career has rung true in my head. Literally, I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating. Every single day I can tell you, I can remember exactly what Bob said to me. I also mentioned that a couple of years I broadcast a radio show from Bob's charity golf tournament. And one of the biggest thrills of my career was meeting Sandy Koufax and having a chance to interview Sandy Koufax because I was broadcasting from Bob's golf tournament. So here he is, one of the most legendary directors in the history of sports television, who just retired after his final four this past Monday night. Bob Fishman from CBS is on Kaplan and Crew. Bob, good afternoon. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
It's my pleasure. It's fun to see you again, Scott. It's been a while. And yeah, Monday night was my last, not retiring from the business totally, but moving on to a few other things. So we'll see. And by the way, I know you guys are all in San Diego. Sorry for the...
It's all good.
I've been a Dodger
Everybody
fan
makes mistakes.
since I was 6 years old. So,
Bob, let me first just tell you what we were talking about before you got here. And then I want to talk about a lot of stuff related to your career and what you did professionally for all these years. It's an interesting time to be retiring from your job, only because the way I see it, there's never been more money in sports broadcasting than ever before. Just a couple of years ago when Tony Romo got his big deal, look what that has set off in the world of television sports broadcasting. What do you think about all the money that has exploded in the sports broadcast world, particularly this past NFL offseason with broadcasters moving? And then a report today that reporters like Adam Schefter and Woj from ESPN are now like $8 and $9 million a year reporters. Weird time to be getting done, Bob.
hey, listen, production people don't get paid what those guys are getting paid. So it's got nothing to do with me. I'm thrilled for all of them. And Tony Romo's deal is looking like a bargain now. It's insane. I wish them all well, but directors, producers are never going to make that kind of money. Not even close.
How did you originally, because when you hear somebody's been at the same gig for 40 years, meaning that they've done 40 or 39 straight Final Fours, as I was reading about how you, like where you really started, how did you as such a young guy get such a high profile job of directing these sorts of big time sporting events?
You know, I was sorry, my phone's ringing. I was very lucky. I started, actually, I've been with the CBS for 52 years, which included a 4-year stint in news. And I was very lucky that I got a production assistant job in the special events unit. And my boss, one of the greatest producers in the history of television news, was Robert Wussler. And I worked as a production assistant and associate director. And in that unit, and my big break came the morning of the Apollo 17, or the morning show, which we were all there at the Cape for the Apollo 17 nighttime launch. And I believe that was in 1973, I'm going to say. Anyways, our director got ill the night before the launch. And since I was the only Directors Guild member at the Cape, I was on the director's chair and got my first network directing job. I was 24 years old. Subsequent to that, Bob Wussler became president of CBS Sports in 1975. And he brought me over to the sports division, a place where I had always wanted to work, but just didn't get an assignment there. And he brought me along with Mike Pearl, producer from WTVJ in Miami, put us together, and we did the NFL Today with Brent and Phyllis Cross, Jimmy the Greek. And that was my break. And if it hadn't been for my stint in news, none of this may have happened. It's right place, right time, and I did a good job on the launch. So I guess Robert saw something in me, and the rest is history. So, my love of broadcasting all started when I was very young, growing up in the Virgin Islands from St. Thomas. And I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning before school and listen to Vince Scully rebroadcast the games on Armed Forces Radio, Dodger games. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a broadcaster like you. And I went to Boston University, but realized right away that there were so many other people who were so much better than me at doing that. So I focused on behind the scenes and started learning how to direct and write scripts and manage my time and all that stuff that you need for live sports or live news television. So, a combination, right place, right time. Growing up in the Virgin Islands, where I was a disc jockey, I did local news on television, and then, of course, listening to the iconic Vince Scully, who is one of my heroes for sure. And another, add-on to that is that Vin did football at CBS for a few years, probably most remembered for the Dwight Clark catch.
Mhm.
But I got to direct Vin for a couple of years on my football crew. So, it's hard to believe that my idol growing up, I ended up working with at CBS Sports.
All right. Wow. Amazing. We're talking to Bob Fishman this afternoon here on Kaplan and Crew. We're coming to you from the 7 Mile Casino Studios. Bob's retirement as the director of CBS Sports has made a lot of news this week because it's 39 straight Final Fours. And at one point during the telecast, they actually did show everybody in the control room applauding Bob and his amazing career. Bob, what is the secret, if you will, to becoming or being a great director? One of the things I found so fascinating was in the early days, your first Final Four, I think the report was there were 6 cameras. Now there are like nearly 40 cameras. In fact, if it wasn't for all these cameras, we wouldn't have seen that young man throw up during the game. We wouldn't have seen the kid from Kansas step out of bounds. I mean, so I'm just curious, like, what could you just describe the art of directing sports broadcasts?
I don't know if there's an art to it. I think the same principles apply to whether I did the it was 7 cameras, I think, back in '82 at the New Orleans at the Dome. They used to, curtain it off so it wasn't as vast an area that we dealt with the last few years. I don't think there's an art to it. I think it's common sense. I think you can't fall in love with all the equipment what you have and be impatient and overcut the show. I mean, you still have to, show people what they want to see at home, whether it's a 4-camera shoot or a 20-camera shoot or a 40-camera shoot. A lot of that equipment is there for a reason, and you mentioned it, is to get that right angle, because with all the review process, and the same thing for football, we've got to have all our bases covered, because the league and the NCAA, they don't have their own cameras. So they take all of our feeds, and in football and in basketball, same thing. So, we don't want to get embarrassed, and we want to be able to show a definitive angle. We also have the ability with all these the new technical wizardry that we have to blow up the image, as we did with the out of bounds, putting the foot on the line. It's really overwhelming, but you can't get caught up in it. So, the artistry involves understanding that there's a time and a place to use your equipment, but those are the emotional moments. I stay on the floor. I don't want to miss anything, because I don't want to have the viewer say, what are these guys doing? I mean, why all those cameras? So when I go to work and I try to be artistic, I don't know if you'd call it artistic, but that's when I show the close-ups, the emotion, the cutaways, the coaches going crazy, the kids, cheering or crying, or we even have remotes from the 2 schools Monday night. All those things play into it, but the essence of the broadcast is not being conservative, just understanding that you don't want to mix up angles and confuse the audience who's watching. And so if people think it's art, so be it. I'm not sure I ever considered it to be art. Because unlike film, unlike shooting a movie where, there's a script, and where, they have multiple cameras rolling, and they, redo scenes, and the director will stop it. He'll say cut and let's do it again. We don't do that in sports. It's live. We have one shot at it, and if we make a mistake, there's no turning back. So,
well, in that same breath, Bob, like something that
yeah.
I find so fascinating about the director, especially of a live massive event. Like I remember, was it Chris Jenkins that hit the Villanova buzzer beater against North Carolina? Your job is to not react. Your job, I mean, what I mean by that is personally, we're all watching the game. We're all like, oh my God, we're freaking out.
Right.
Your
No,
job is to stay calm.
Right.
And that's the art to me. The art is like, you have to know exactly where you want to go. How long did it take you to learn or establish that ability to remain calm in such incredible moments?
Well, it probably goes back to my stint as a production assistant on 60 Minutes, where I saw screaming and carrying on in the control room between the director and the producer. And I was a young kid. I was a production assistant. And I filed that mentally and said, boy, if I ever get my chance, I am not going to act like that, because the crew gets nervous. You're not doing anybody any good. So I've always had a very calm demeanor. In those exciting moments on a Chris Jenkins shot or a Keith Smart in 87 or 83, any of them, I know where I need to go, and I know where to have my crew focus on. But we have a camera meeting, fairly extensive camera meeting before every show we do. And I tell the men and women who are manning the cameras that, look, here are your assignments. Some of you are going to shoot the winning side. Some of you are going to shoot the losing side, and whatever happens, happens. But we are prepared to give the audience those shots and the replays that, are pertinent to the moment. So it's not a script. We have no scripts. It's all flying by the seat of your pants. But they're all prepared to know where to go in the event of a game-winning moment. And so, and they do that well. We get credit for it, but my crew is what makes all these shows happen. And I've said it a million times. They get the credit. They should get the credit.
Has it sunk into you yet that your work will live forever? Like the Chris Jenkins shot will live on as long as the tournament exists. Like you've worked.
How about Jim Valvano running around?
Right.
I mean, yeah.
You've worked in so many different iconic moments. How do you are you out there trying to top some of these moments, or as you're shooting them, do you recall moments that you missed and that has taught you how to catch these moments after those?
Yeah, that's part of it. And recall, when I'm doing it, I'm not recalling and thinking about the other moments. But after the game is over and I reflect and look back on it, what you're saying is correct. I'll give you an example of how we're prepared. And here's the best example. My very first one in 82, when Freddie Brown threw the ball away to Worthy by accident. John Thompson, he was consoling Freddie Brown on the sideline because clearly he lost the game for Georgetown. 2 years later, Georgetown was clearly going to win. We were in Seattle, and John Thompson called a timeout to get Freddie Brown off the court. And I knew at that moment something dramatic and emotional was going to happen on the sideline because of what had happened 2 years earlier. And sure enough, he calls a timeout. Freddie comes over to the sideline, and John picks him up in a bear hug and whispers something in his ear. And we were prepared for that moment because as soon as he called timeout and I saw Freddie Brown walking to the bench, that's when the reflections of things that happened in the past, take over for me and my crew. So, it's not an accident that we get some of these shots. Some of them we're prepared for, but others are spontaneous, and we don't know what's going to happen at the end of the game. But again, the crew is prepared for any moment, and I know which cameras to go to because they know what to pick up on.
We're talking to Bob Fishman this afternoon here on Kaplan and Crew from the 7 Mile Casino Studios. Bob, this past Monday night, did his final four. It's been 39 straight. So, Bob, everybody kind of knows you and everybody talks about your retirement from a Final Four perspective. But would you mind just kind of off the top of your head, I mean, as you just think about all the different sporting events that you've directed, again, people think of you as Final Four NCAA basketball tournament, but could you just take us through some of
Sure.
the other stuff?
Yeah, I've done all the sports. I guess going back to '82 and all the great finishes we've talked about. There was the '93 World Series, the Joe Carter walk-off home run. I did that game. The Lillehammer Olympics, where we had the Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan drama. There was the Daytona 500 in 1979, which was the first time a network had ever attempted to do it live, flag to flag. And we were very successful. And then, of course, as Richard Petty is crossing the finish line, we have that fist fight on the back stretch between Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison, which vaulted NASCAR to the front pages of every major newspaper in the country, not just the sports sections, but the front page of the New York Times. And I've never seen any article about NASCAR on the front page of the New York Times. So, we were very responsible, I think, for the growth of NASCAR because of that race, because we did it live, flag to flag, where in the past, ABC had run highlights a week later. The other moments I remember, Denver Bronco Ravens playoff game, Ray Lewis's last game, U.S. Open tennis, all of the Federer wins, the Agassi, Pete Sampras, Serena Williams, Chris Evert. I mean, it just goes on. And I don't remember all of them, but I did every sport. So there's a million. There's a million moments.
Can I ask you kind of maybe not silly, but is there an event that you went to that's memorable that you didn't direct? Like as a fan, have you been able, because so much, I mean, the four of us, we all kind of get like, sometimes we have to watch these sports for work and we don't really get to enjoy them as a fan. Have you been able to enjoy some memorable things as a fan?
My most favorite moment as a fan when my boys were playing basketball in high school and they got to the championship game. That's the best one I can tell you. I'm not, going to an event over the years becomes, for me, I'd rather sit home and watch the stuff. So I can't think of any one in particular. I mean, way back when I was not yet accomplished in sports, I was in LA at one time with my parents, and I would go to Dodger games and sit in those dugout box seats and watch Sandy Koufax pitch, watch Hank Aaron play, who I met in the Virgin Islands growing up. Sandy has become one of my friends. So I get more thrills just watching great events. I guess I wasn't there, but the Red Sox coming back in the World Series after they were down, what was it, 3-0 to the Yankees? I remember that very well, but there's not one that I particularly remember sitting as a fan. It was more about watching at home.
Yeah.
Now, you got 39 Final Fours, correct?
Yeah, it should have been 40.
That's my question. That's my question. You're one short. Why not go for the 40?
That was a contract thing. And no, I call it 40 because in 1990, I was in the hospital having a bone marrow transplant for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that's why I did the tournament that Scott came to a few years ago. So I still call it 40 because I was still part of it. I was part of the regular season. You know what? I just turned 74 and I've been in the company 52 years. And even though it was 39, I call it 40. My contract was up. I just felt it was a good time to step away. I'm not retiring from the business. I've already had a bunch of freelance offers. And I've also, CBS knows that I'm on standby for them anytime they need somebody to fill in on NFL or basketball or whatever they're doing, because, during COVID, you just never know. And people were still getting sick. And So I'm around. I'll be there. I may do some NBA playoff games for Turner. You know, we've had a wonderful partnership with those guys on the past tournaments, and they're all terrific. And I love working with them as much as I do with the CBS guys. So I'm not closing the door. Certainly not closing the door. It just was a good time to step away and do other things that I couldn't do because of my schedule.
Hey, Bob, do you have a few more minutes? And the reason I ask is because you got some things behind you that I have to ask about. I also need to understand about why you grew up in the Virgin Islands. I never knew that until you mentioned it today.
Okay.
And I also need to tell you something that you told me 20 years ago that has been one of the most influential things that has happened in my personal career as a broadcaster. And you may or may not remember it. And I don't know, it may not have been important to you, but I'll tell you right now, it was one of the most important things in my career. So I want to tell you about that. Everybody stick with us. Bob Fishman is here having this incredible conversation about his career and the things that he's seen and the events that he's directed. Bob Fishman of CBS Sports. We're going to keep this conversation going. We're in the 7 Mile Casino Studios. This is Kaplan and Crew with Grande and the Brown Man.
Thank you for joining us. Catch Scott Kaplan and Crew tonight from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific every Monday through Friday. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and Crew show on the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk.
You're watching Kaplan and Crew tonight, powered by the mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio and Your View, featuring the best sports talk in SoCal.
You're listening to the 50,000-watt Powerhouse, bringing you the new generation of radio up and down all of California with a little bit of attitude. This is SoCal Sports Talk, the all-new and mightier 1090 AM ESPN Radio.
Rugby. It's America's fastest growing sport and the predecessor of American football, combining football's physicality, the free-flowing grace of soccer, the ball-handling skills of basketball, and the intensity of ice hockey. No pads, no helmets, all action. Rugby Wrap-Up and Major League Rugby every Thursday night at 9 p.m. on Your View.
The 2022 San Diego Loyals season is here. Live on Your View and YourView.com. Watch the San Diego Loyal take on the Oakland Roots SC Wednesday, April 13th at 7 p.m. Support the San Diego Loyal as they make their bid for the 2022 USL Championship. Oakland Roots SC versus the San Diego Loyal, Wednesday at 7 on Your View.
Replacing missing teeth with the new small diameter or mini implants. With us, we have an expert on the topic, Dr. Joe Gillespie. Dr. Gillespie.
Hey, Randy.
Welcome to the program.
Great to see you again.
Here's Kaplan and Crew tonight's 60-second timeout with Haley Stasiak.
University of San Diego baseball beat UC San Diego on Tuesday night, completing the season sweep of UCSD. USD bats were hot in the 13-4 win. Caleb Ricketts got the scoring started in the first with an RBI single. In the second, the Toreros put up 6 runs, and that would be more than enough. Ricketts went 4 for 5 on the night with 4 RBI, a double, a home run, and a run scored. Kevin Sim also had a solid performance at the plate, going 3 for 5 with a double, home run, 2 walks, 3 RBI, and a career-high 5 runs scored. The Toreros couldn't get the series win against San Francisco last weekend. After taking the opening game of the series, they lost on both Saturday and Sunday. USD will next take on Portland this weekend as conference play continues. That's your 60-second timeout. Now back to more Kaplan and Crew tonight.
Kaplan and Crew tonight's 60-second timeout is presented by Your View.
We are very proud to announce that the Mightier 1090 is SoCal's newest ESPN affiliate. Introducing the Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio. One of the largest radio stations in North America just got bigger and better. Joining forces with the worldwide leader of sports, ESPN. The Mightier 1090 ESPN Radio.
The 2022 San Diego Loyals season is here. Live on Your View and YourView.com. Watch the San Diego Loyal take on the Oakland Roots SC Wednesday, April 13th at 7 p.m. Support the San Diego Loyal as they make their bid for the 2022 USL Championship. Oakland Roots SC versus the San Diego Loyal, Wednesday at 7 on Your View.
Main streets are the heart of our communities, where we connect with our neighbors, support local businesses, and share new adventures. Main Street Living celebrates all of this, bringing you uplifting stories with guests from across the country and your community. Main Street Living covers what's important to you today, from our street to your street. Join Cheryl, Danielle, and Quincy for Main Street Living, Mondays at 9 on Your View.
Rugby. It's America's fastest growing sport and the predecessor of American football, combining football's physicality, the free-flowing grace of soccer, the ball-handling skills of basketball, and the intensity of ice hockey. No pads, no helmets, all action. Rugby Wrap-Up and Major League Rugby every Thursday night at 9 p.m. on Your View.
Hollander Dental is unique because we have been serving the Carlsbad community for over 25 years. We have a very spacious office with ample parking and state-of-the-art technology. The office has been newly renovated, so all the equipment and facility is brand new. Any patient visiting Hollander Dental can expect to be taken care of at every step of their visit.
With care and love and support. So when we're going through tough times, as dental work is and can be, they make it easy for us as patients.
Investing in your smile and your overall dental health in the long run will help you save money by preventing other medical conditions.
I would absolutely recommend Hollander Dental.
I do recommend Hollander Dental to anyone I know who needs something done.
You always want to live in the best home possible. And that's what really at the heart of what our business is all about. And for over 20 years now, we've been focused on helping people get to the right property. At Move Up San Diego, we have created systems that are duplicatable because that creates the same results. Whether it's a trade-in option that we're doing a lot of right now, which allows people to be a cash buyer before they actually sell their home, or our moving concierge program, which actually helps you not just with the buying and selling of a property, but we help with the entire move. The best way to get a hold of Move Up San Diego is to either visit our website, moveupsandiego.com, or you can download our app called Move Up Homes, or you can call me direct on my cell phone at 858-204-7259.
You're watching Kaplan and Crew tonight, powered by the mightier 1090 AM, ESPN Radio, and Your View, featuring the best sports talk in SoCal.
Hanging out at the beach? What a lifestyle. And you could be here every day if you entered the San Diego Giving Back Raffle, a benefit for Ronald McDonald House Charities of San Diego.
Grand prize is this multi-million-dollar home 1 block from the ocean. Or you can win a sports car, a dream vacation, or cash. Everyone is guaranteed to win a fabulous prize. The Giving Back Raffle helps families in need, like the Uggan family. Visit sdraffle.com to learn more.
The 2022 San Diego Loyal season is here. Live on Your View and yourview.com. Watch the San Diego Loyal take on the Oakland Roots SC Wednesday, April 13th at 7 p.m. Support the San Diego Loyal as they make their bid for the 2022 USL Championship. Oakland Roots SC versus the San Diego Loyal, Wednesday at 7 on Your View. If you love animals, Animal Zone is for you. From rescues to animal experts, Animal Zone is fun for the whole family. Watch Animal Zone right here on your view, Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. And visit animalzone.org to learn more about the show.
Thank you for joining us. Catch Scott Kaplan and crew tonight from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific every Monday through Friday. The very best from today's Scott Kaplan and crew show on the mightier 1090 a.m. ESPN Radio, SoCal Sports Talk.